Okay, so hello, fellow artists from PNCA, part of my cohort. I'm excited because I have been able to curate this small show at the Art Center at the end of November, and we're almost there. And you guys are my fellow showing artists, minus a couple today. So do you all want to say your names and say a word or two? Stashia?
Well, I'm Stashia Cabral. I'm a first year low-res MFA visual studies student at PNCA, just like all the rest of us. I'm excited to have work in Amy's show.
Thanks for being here. Hey, Kelly.
I'm Kelly Marshall. I'm joining you from San Diego and very happy to have the opportunity to show with Amy and the Corvallis Art Center.
Nice. Hey, Élan. Tell us about your gallery too.
Hi, Amy. I'm Élan. Yeah, I'm here from Ashland, and I'm at Hanson Howard Gallery, where I'm owner.
Sorry, what's the name of your gallery?
Hanson Howard Gallery. It's a 40-year-old gallery that was started in the late 70s by Judy Howard.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm excited to be in the show. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So I wanted to say that the topic of our show, How Do We Heal, was chosen over a year ago when Hester asked me to curate in 2020. And she kindly gave me the choice of what month to pick in 2020. And I thought at the time, well, what's important about 2020? And there's only one thing that seemed important at the moment, besides, our lives. And that was the election. So I said, well, I'll take November because I thought the challenge for artists to make a difference would be great. And I had a feeling that we might not have counted all the votes or be complete at this point in November. So here we are, and some other big things have happened in 2020. We're in the midst of a pandemic. It's pretty bad, and we're all coping in whatever ways that we cope. We don't have access to the people in our lives as we're used to, and other things that I guess I associate with healing. So this show became, for me, something bigger. I would like to introduce somebody and play a clip for you that captures some of my current feelings about what's going on in the world, and links what's global to what's personal for me about healing. But I do also want to say that I really intentionally wanted the artists to approach the question, how do we heal, in whatever way was important for you. Whether that's deeply personal, whether it's, what's one way that you heal, or how you see the world, or whatever that was for you. So it just always seems important to me in art to really acknowledge our freedom to be ourselves. And so that was what I was thinking. So I want to show you, some of you know who Latasha Brown is, and even if we do, I'm not sure that our audience necessarily does. And so I want to show you quickly a little, I'm gonna, whoops, I have to share my screen first. Okay, hang on folks. I have never done interviews by Zoom before. So, and let's see. Share screen, then, okay. So I would like to know if you can see this. Can you guys see this?
No.
Okay, so I have to figure out how to do this. I guess maybe I have to share screen, put it on first. Sorry, be patient, be patient. Can you see that?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Okay, so Latasha Brown is an award-winning organizer, philanthropic consultant, political strategist, and jazz singer. You can read the rest. Co-founder of Black Voters Matters Fund. So she, along with Stacey Abrams and a number of other organizers, have been really rock stars at getting us through this election. And I guess you can tell what side I'm on. So I'd like to think I'm on the human side. But I did want to just briefly show you who Latasha is, and then I want to let her speak for a minute. She was interviewed recently by John Lovett on Pod Save America, and the last maybe 5 minutes of her interview gave me chills. And so I thought, well, why not let people get to know her, and she can say what I'm feeling better than I can. So now I'm going to have to do that second thing where I share screen. Okay, can you see that? Can you, or do I
Yes.
share screen again? You can see that?
Yep.
Okay, so here's John Lovett, who looks like a 14-year-old, but is not. He's a great pundit, one of my favorites. So he's asking her, okay, so given what's happened, what do you want to see happen now? And this was just a couple days ago. And today is this was November 10th, today's the 13th.
White people who got a taste of disenfranchisement and they hated it and they're paying attention. And this big, beautiful coalition is paying attention. Where do you want that attention to go next? After you take a break and, and get a chance we all get a chance to catch our breath. What is to you the next place you want to direct this big coalition towards the work that we still have to do?
You know, I got a million policy ideas I can put on the table, but I'll just tell you what's coming up in my spirit right now to say that at the end of the day, what I want people to do, if they could just take this one phrase and let this start driving our politics, for the love of humanity. What would policy look like if we start operating and saying, I'm going to support this policy for the love of humanity? And what I mean by that is even when I vote, I don't vote based on what I think about my tax bracket, not like I'm at some high tax bracket or anything, I'm implying. But the fact of the matter is when I vote, I am always voting for the most vulnerable in my community, because I know that if there's a safety net for the most vulnerable of us, then the rest of us will also benefit from that. And so I am hoping that in this moment that what this coalition will see themselves as is beyond the confinements of a party affiliation, beyond the confinements of what we see ourselves as race and gender, that beyond that at the end of the day, at the core of our humanity, that as we go forward talking about governance, that we govern in a way for the love of humanity, that we create and demand policies that all people, what's so wrong with everybody having healthcare? I'm so confused around that. I don't even understand why there's a debate. Why would we not want everybody to have healthcare? At the end of the day, worst case scenario, sick people can get well. I mean, at the end of the day, it's ludicrous for me, because I think part of what has happened is that we have been taught that it is okay to be selfish in our politics. Right, not just in terms of just the political parties, but it's been selfish in our politics. And in some ways, we have been a tool and a proxy of actually providing more power, getting caught up in the parties, right, than we have around people. And so everything gets defined within the context of a party paradigm, right? It's either you're on the blue team or you're on the red team. No, I'm on the humanity team. That's what team I'm on. And so I really want people to shift their paradigm of why we're doing this, that we're getting so caught up in fights and so caught up in even the very notion that my rights as a voter is safer, whether it's one party or another party in office. Now, I know that that's true because of what the political landscape in right now, because the Republicans right now are just crazy. There's nothing else I can say, right, but to allow a man who has just been vicious, right, allow a man who has left our country vulnerable in the midst of the largest health pandemic, they are complicit. And I'm not going to, and I'm not saying that because they're Republican, I'm saying it because that is inhumane. And if the Democrats did that, and to the extent they do that, I will call that out too. And so we're going to have some courage to move back, to really be able to force the parties to be responsible and accountable to us instead of the opposite. We can no longer just continue to get caught up in this football game of which team you're on, the red or the blue team. We got to be on the humanity team, and we got to be on the rainbow team. And so I think that it's really important for us in this moment. You know, I want to just share this little story that I always talk about around diamond and glass. That if you know how a diamond is created, that all a diamond is a piece of coal that under extreme pressure over time becomes a diamond. That glass, all glass is sand that's been compacted, right, and with heat, and it becomes glass. And we know both of those things, what make both of those elements significant to us is that their properties is because they become clear. They have clarity, that in fact, the pressure created a circumstances and changed, transformed them, that they became clear substances. I think that we've got to do that. In this moment, we got to take all of this pain and this trauma that Trump has created in this moment, and that pressure, I'm hoping that pressure doesn't say, well, we got Trump out of office, let's go back home. But that pressure transforms us, that we have more clarity about what we need to bring a nation together, that what really healing is going to mean. Like we're ready for healing tomorrow. No, we're not. We're not ready for healing because we haven't been honest about where the pain. We got to stop the pain. If you want to start healing, stop the pain. If 38 million Americans are in poverty, stop the pain. When you've got a prison industrial complex that we are seeing millions of folks, more than any place in the world, that are locking folks up and throwing away the key and acting like they're not human beings, stop the pain. If we want to see folks, hundreds of thousands of people that are dying for COVID-19, stop the pain. When you got 68% of Black women who are voting, who are working low-wage jobs that don't have any economic security, but continuously show up for this nation to save America for herself, stop the pain. And so I want us to also feel a certain level of discomfort and pressure in this moment, that we take this opportunity to really be able to shape policies boldly and force the political parties, right, to literally not go back to their comfort position. Because this ain't about the Democratic Party getting power for me. Now, for some folks, it may be, right? For me, it is about people having a say, and that people being taken care of. And that the agenda that works, the agenda that has worked the best and been the most responsive for us has been the agenda by the Democratic Party, but it doesn't go far enough. And they've not done enough. And so we have to pressure ourselves, because I'm not asking folks to put pressure on anybody else. I'm saying me, I've not done enough. And I work 16, 18 hours a week, right? And so even as much as I've done, I've been very reflective of how I've been complicit in what America has become, right? And so even my own behavior, I'm looking at how, as a consumer, have I treated the earth well when I'm looking at climate change? Have I been a good steward of the earth? Have I been a good neighbor? Have I been a good friend? Have I just been a good human being? And so I think I so want us to make this moment be beyond politics, that I want us to make this moment be centered in, and I know it, as corny as it may sound to some, but literally within the quotations, for the love of humanity.
Okay. Stop share. Oh, there we are. So I will say that my thoughts were on the big picture when I created this show, but I do believe it starts with ourselves and what do we need to heal and what do we need to heal from. So whatever is your message, and however much you want to share or not share, as an artist, what would you like to say? Kelly?
So that was really powerful, and I actually heard that I think it was last weekend when it came out. But thinking about the show, you know, the pieces that I submitted are sort of based on social justice, and you know, when I make work, I'm always thinking about things, but you know, as an abstract painter, it's not always like perfectly evident in the imagery because it's non-representational, but it's always there in what I'm thinking about. And so the pieces that I submitted are very much about water. And I think that I've been doing a lot of reading about how the politics of our country and other countries really impacts women, and access to clean water is just, it's a game changer, and it's like an equalizer. And so, you know, I was, you know, kind of limited in sending something up from San Diego. It had to be small enough to get to you. And those pieces seemed really perfect for this because water is such an important thing. I think about it a lot living in a place that has no natural freshwater source, and seeing it sort of abused by people who have access to it and not, and taken for granted, but yet so important for quality of life. But in terms of healing, I was thinking that you know, fighting for those things that are important to me is what gives me a chance to really heal the parts of my soul, the parts of my heart that are really broken. When I do, like in this last year, simple things like writing postcards to voters to encourage getting out to vote. Or a couple of years ago, our family did quite a bit of work with a refugee resettlement agency, and I watched what it did for my children and for myself in terms of healing. So choosing a piece of artwork that really embodies and encompasses my thoughts on social justice was really important. That wasn't super clear, but I hope that you kind of get the idea.
Very clear. Yeah. Yeah. Do you guys have any questions for Kelly or any responses? And we can come back to. Yeah, Kelly, the works that you sent are lovely and powerful.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Élan, I know you don't have so much time. Do you want to talk about your work?
Yeah, so the pieces that I sent you are, they're really specific, more specific than my work usually is. And so I'm typically a painter. These works are sculptural. And it comes out of going through the process of grief for several years, and specifically the grief of losing my mom. And so those pieces, it just, when I got up to the school and I had access to a laser cutter, I had this thing in mind that I just felt like I needed to do, even though it's so divergent from what I typically do. So it's like I needed to take these words that had been floating in my brain for this last 4 years through that grief process and make them something real and tangible and weighty and, you know, kind of dull feeling, and, you know, just sort of to materialize part of that process and to be able to actually set them down. So that was a big part of it for me. It was like, so I want people to be able to pick those up and set them down and move them around and actually interact with those ideas. And typically I don't go that directly with my work, although it has always been a part of getting through really difficult things personally, and then sort of processing, because we're all part of communities and interconnected. And so just whether it's going on personally for me or in the bigger community, that ability to heal, and like she was saying, to kind of, what am I a good friend? Am I a good, member of this community? I always have felt that that starts with healing yourself.
Absolutely.
There's this work to be done, and whatever you do, that you nourish yourself, you heal yourself, so that you have something to give, and so that what you give is something good and nourishing for other people, for your community. So yeah, that's kind of typically how the process works for me. But
so just a couple things that strike me in your speaking. One is just how having access to the right materials can give you the means of expression. So you have the laser cutter and you got to say what you wanted to say, or found a way. And I think that's one thing that's remarkable about art, and how art can be healing, and how the right materials can really help you do that. Oh, it says my meeting's gonna end in 10 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna get to you, Stashia, in a second. I just also wanna say quickly, Élan, that your bricks are real bricks. And I didn't know that until they came to me and they were delivered, because I saw them by Zoom this summer, but I didn't, I don't know, I just didn't realize. And so in your artist statement, where it says at the end, and then set them down, that was really powerful for me, because the weight of them and then setting them down. And maybe we do that over and over again, but.
yeah, and that's why one of the words that I use is kind of to let, and it's to let these things go. And I think that's a big part of the healing, is you got to hold them and be with them, and you've got to be, really like acknowledging, like sit with it, and then you got to let it go. And yeah, I think that leads to a healthier community if everybody's able to do that.
Yeah, we all have things to let down or set down.
Yeah.
Thank you. Stashia, you had very different work.
I did, although in certain ways it's kind of more similar to what Élan was working on. So I have a tendency a lot of the time to be pretty literary, or pretty literal rather, and small picture. But I think that there's an awful lot of experiences that they cross community borders. So even if I'm making something that's really my own story, chances are most people have a tangentially related story.
Yep.
So I gave you a bunch of pieces that are all about dead people.
That's one way to put it.
They're all people that I've lost, and it spans a really a long period of time. Like I think the oldest one was made around 2000 when my brother died. And then the newest one was just made last month when I lost a friend. There's also some pieces in there that are for my dad. And although you guys might not know this, I don't always put text in my artwork. Like it's something that I really normally do, like maybe 20% of the time, but everything I sent to Amy has text in it. And almost everything that I've been doing since we started school has text in it, or is somehow related to text or the idea of writing. But I do think that writing or talking or wishing or putting your thoughts in order is an important way of healing for things.
That resonates, doesn't it? Mhm.
Like, I think if you can't name something, then you can't deal with it.
Oh my gosh, I've been talking with both mentors about that very thing.
So I think that's,
Naming your monsters is how I put it.
oh, yes, totally, exactly.
Names them. Mhm.
Exactly. So that's kind of the gist of, I mean, I gave you a big variety of, there's oil paintings and pillows and drawings. So there's a big variety of different things in there.
It's a prolific bunch we have, which is really cool. I think I'm gonna kind of push this to the end because it's telling me that we don't have as much time as I thought, which is probably okay. And I was hoping for a little more of a discussion, but I'm really glad to hear from each of you, and so appreciative both of your being in this show and also that you are my cohort. I just feel like we got the perfect cohort. How did that happen? So new community, that's another way to heal, to move forward. We've been pretty supportive of each other, and that's really awesome. So anybody want to say anything before we get cut off?
You know, I love that, Amy. Something that I found in the arts world is that I feel like when we support each other and we work together, we generally are the best versions of ourselves. And that is absolutely very healing, as opposed to trying to compete with one another. So I really appreciate that you took the time to do this and include us and put so much thought into it.
Well, before I even knew you, and now that I know you, it's even better. So we've had a great start of the year since June. Well, thanks everybody. You are wonderful.
Well, thank you, Amy.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Amy. It's really nice to be
Okay.
part of this.
You bet. Okay, guys and gals, we will onward. Thank you so much. I'm gonna end before we get cut off.
Okay, bye.
Thanks, Art Center. Thanks, Hester.
Thank you, Art Center.
Thank you, Art Center.